securities have been regulated quite a bit with Sarbanes-Oxley, obviously the underlying acts of the 1933 and 1934 older acts, FINRA, and then on top of the federal statutory schemes, you have state blue sky laws that govern securities regulation. So we can't forget about that either. So I think there's plenty of laws on the book. I think the shortcoming has been enforcement of those laws or ability to enforce those laws. And I think a large part of that is attributable to the lack of resources with respect to the SEC or the state agencies. Another problem is securities violations often don't go to a courtroom or they don't get adjudicated because there are not enough resources to address violations. For example, you hear about public violations of Sarbanes-Oxley. You hear about public matters that are obviously important and quintessential towards building public trust, but you don't hear about private offering fraud. And I think there's a lot of that out there. And just keep in mind, I'm mostly on the defense side of those actions, so I don't say that lightly or out of hand. I think those allegations are serious. But I think there's a lot of them out there that don't get to see a courtroom or don't get to be adjudicated in for example, a FINRA arbitration proceeding or an SEC proceeding because there's a lack of resources and the ability to prosecute the current laws on the books. So that's a long way of me saying that the laws on the books are substantial and actually over-regulatory in certain instances, but where the shortcoming I think is the ability to enforce those laws. I think securities markets are very well regulated. I think the laws give regulators, whether it's the federal level at the SEC or the state level regulators, the ability to adequately police and monitor compliance with securities laws. So I don't think a commission is in order at this point in time. Obviously, everyone's watching the economy to see where the economy is going to go, if we'll have a 2008 again, for example, and a meltdown. And quite a bit ensued from that meltdown. We had Sarbanes-Oxley. We had a bunch of reforms in our securities, in our banking system as a whole. So I don't think at this point in time a commission's warranted. We certainly don't want to stifle growth or innovation, but what we do want to encourage is more enforcement actions of actual proven violations of law. The 2008 crash was an interesting phenomenon, and there were many contributing factors in my view. There were shortcomings with respect to regulation of banks and securities in general. In addition to that, there was some recklessness on the part of institutions and frankly on the part of borrowers. So it was a perfect storm of catastrophic events which led to a meltdown. So in my view, I think regulation is great. I think we have enough regulation on the books as of now. We just need to better police and enforce proven breaches of violations of law. And also on the consumer level, and by consumer I mean even as a business owner, for example, we have to be more responsible and more efficient with the resources we have to ensure that we don't overextend ourselves or there's not over leveraging. At the same time, I think banks now have a different appreciation and understanding for the leveraging process, the underwriting process, and doing their job the way they should be doing it.